you fought Sean Porter. Even Sean Porter said.
What did I do to Sean Porter that you couldn't
Sean
do?
Porter said he did not train
Porter
like he should. He didn't do the things that his daddy told him to do. What are you talking about? Even his daddy said it. Even his daddy said it.
You butthurt that I got the
Even his daddy said it.
You butthurt.
Even Kell Brook, he was already broken.
So was he broken when you fought him?
No, he wasn't broken.
How come
I broke the other eye.
He came off of.
I broke the other eye. Yeah, that's how I got broke. That's how I got broke.
He came off a stoppage.
What does it matter?
He came off a stoppage and then he fought you months.
What does it matter?
Months prior.
What does it matter?
So was he broken or not?
No, he wasn't broken. No, he wasn't broken.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
What are you talking about? I had the same surgery he had, and what happened?
Hey, man down of the fish fry. Errol Spence and Terence Crawford conclude their first ever face-off and press conference. In this video, I'm gonna break down what I seen at the first stop in LA, Los Angeles for Spence Crawford. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Let me start off by saying congratulations to Errol Spence and Terence Crawford. I felt, considering that both fighters' personality is typically characteristically pretty mellow and chill, I think they did a great job of selling the fight, and they really made it more interesting than I initially anticipated. I thought, especially when you look at it, multiple city press tours, the first one is kind of like a fill out. It's like a boxing match. You look at some of the first rounds of popular boxing matches and you don't see crazy action. Like, it's not every day that in a high profile fight, they just start getting busy in the first round. A lot of guys want to see, okay, let me see what his speed's like. Let me see what that power is hitting for. Let me see what his timing's like. And then they start to open up as the fight progresses. So I've seen press tours in the first stop, and the first stop was super bland. But I found myself entertained with what I seen. And again, I got to give props because Errol Spence and Terence Crawford, they're not necessarily known for, being over the top with like this bubbly, charismatic personality. They seem like badasses who can fight, but not always gonna give you the showmanship, at least outside of the ring. So I was really happy with that. And Terence Crawford also previously stated that this fight doesn't need a bunch of promotion. So he was saying it's just such a great fight. You don't really have to push each other and go over the top and be disrespectful if that's not your innate nature. So I was kind of worried to see if this fight and this press conference would kind of be a snoozer. But again, congratulations, because I enjoyed it. So what was said? I'm gonna try to go over some key moments. Make sure you guys subscribe. I am the best in the business. Both fighters seem pretty confident. Terence Crawford was saying things to the effect of he's gonna show the world that he's special and why he's here. July 29th, that's what he looks to do. And he said people are going to look at him and be like, man, that boy Crawford is special. Bomac kind of mirrored these same sentiments. There was a point where there was a little bit of friction and a disagreement between things where Terence Crawford was saying that I've done this and that. They were talking about how Terence Crawford has an opportunity, which I told you on the channel, to be a two-peat in terms of undisputed. No one else has really done that. Derek James jumped in and said, what about Teofimo last week? But I agree with Crawford there. I never looked at Teofimo as actually undisputed because the whole situation, he beat Loma, but Devin Haney was lingering with the belt. And then now he beat Josh Taylor, and Josh Taylor was undisputed, but at the point in which they fought, he had to relinquish all his belts. Plus, if we really want to get technical, Josh Taylor should have lost to Jack Catterall. So I didn't view Josh Taylor, even if he would have, quote unquote, retained his belts, he didn't have it at the time of. You see what I'm saying? And I don't even think Josh Taylor won his last fight. So there's that. So that was a point of contention. The other one was referencing Terence Crawford's resume. Errol Spence was pretty candid in the belief that he doesn't believe that Terence Crawford has really done much. He truly believes he's done the heavier lifting and fought the more relevant parties at the time. Terence Crawford obviously didn't like it, so he jumped in and said, what about Kell Brook? And Terence Crawford's angle was basically suggesting that Kell Brook was damaged goods from the Triple G fight Hell no, guys, hey, Max. And Errol Spence was like, I broke his other eye. I tell you that, you know. And I mean, listen, I think Errol in this argument, he has more of a leg to stand on. The bottom line, like, I don't want to beat around the bush because that's not how I made my coin and my name in this game of beating around the bush and saying, you know, a bunch of filler. So that being said, Errol Spence, his argument makes a lot more sense. He fought a fresher Kell Brook and he fought a fresher Shawn Porter. End of story. Crawford, you could say he stopped Kell Brook earlier and he actually stopped Shawn Porter, which Errol Spence only dropped Shawn Porter. But again, you have to put things like that into context. And the context of it is Errol Spence fought the better version of both of those fighters. Like, there's usually and seldomly no fountain of youth in the sport of boxing. So if a person's performance, like let's say, you know, and I hate to pick on anyone, but I got to give you guys a real life example. Let's say like Adrian Broner. Adrian Broner fought an unknown Hutchinson and he looked okay. You know what I mean? Classic Broner, at his best, he's chewing up Antonio DeMarco, and he was a former champion at the time. You know what I mean? And he looks sensational. So it's seldom that boxers turn back the clock, if you will. And if they have had better luck in the past and stuff, that they reinvent themselves. I think that's a misconception and misnomer with boxing. Everyone's looking for this 40-year-old George Foreman over Michael Moore type of performance. But in boxing, usually what you see is what you get. If a person looks like on the back half of their career, that's usually what you're gonna get. And it's seldom that they turn back the clock, if you will. So no matter how you slice it, Errol Spence, I was at the Errol Spence Shawn Porter fight as well, and it was electric. Shawn Porter was coming to bring it. There was more, and here's another thing. Errol Spence was roasting Shawn Porter. He was like, you an in-shape street fighter. You fight like you drown and you fight like you can't swim. And he was like insulting his manhood and his fighting ability. So Shawn Porter had this additional chip on his shoulder, plus he was training hard. When he fought Terence Crawford and Shawn Porter let you know they're friends and they've known each other since the AMs, and you know, they had a lot of conversations. Even after they fought, there's a picture of them, they all went paintballing. So it was just a completely different relationship when you have some, you know, impartiality towards the person. With Errol Spence, Shawn Porter was trying to shut Errol Spence up, and he was a champion. You're not going to make Terence Crawford's win over Shawn Porter look better just because he got a stoppage. You didn't stop a champion. You stopped a beltless guy who was on a 400+ day layoff. So Errol Spence, again, as I mentioned, has a better leg to stand on with his argument of, I've done the heavier lifting and your resume just doesn't stack up. Nonetheless, the winner of this fight, to me, is pound for pound number one. And collectively, you look at what Errol's done in his career, obviously the better work at welterweight. Terence Crawford has done great work throughout his career, 135, 140, moved up. So to me, this is the person to beat. This is the person number one. People are like, oh, Canelo, he's not better than either of these fighters, Errol Spence, Terence Crawford, because it's only each other that could possibly beat the other person. You know, Terence Crawford, there's no guarantee that he would lose to anyone else. And that's why we want to see this fight, because like I've been saying, this is Ken versus Ryu. They have a lot of commonalities and similarities, not in terms of their fight style, but in terms of that dog mentality, demeanor. They're both skilled, but they just execute it in a different way. So to me, the winner of this fight absolutely is pound for pound number one. All in all, I enjoyed this particular press conference. I try to give you guys the good, the bad, and the ugly. My only bad and ugly, I need Showtime to step it up. I think the commentators at the beginning, they don't really hype me up. Morning Combat, they don't really hype me up and get me amped for the fight, so I could do without that. There were some mic issues where the mic was cutting out. When they first walked out, it was extremely dark and you couldn't see, so the lighting looked suspect. Terence Crawford being a darker complected dude, like you could barely even see him when, like, because they had the lights so dim, you know what I mean? And it just didn't look like a high production at that point. But I think they turned the lights on or whatever after that point. So hopefully They hash out some of these issues for the New York stop. As far as what the fighters did, excellent. As far as what the trainers did, excellent. You know, I didn't have a problem. I think Derek James, very articulate, well-spoken. Thing I like about Derek James is there's a law in 48 Laws of Power, Robert Greene book, and it's never outshine the master. Derek James doesn't try to be the event. He doesn't try to outshine the master. Like if you ask him, hey, do you want this fight next for your fighter? He's like, man, I want what my guys want. I want what Errol wants. If Errol loves it, I love it. I'm here to train him, you know? And Derek James, he always plays his role. He did say some slick stuff, and I'll talk more about the game planning and stuff. I don't want to make this video much longer than it needs to be, but Derek James overall said his fighter has more depth. Bomac, I mean, he didn't really elaborate on what he was saying. He was just saying that Crawford, I promise you, Crawford gonna win July 29th. I think Derek James articulated his thoughts better. And I'm not saying Bomac and Team Crawford don't have a game plan. It's just the articulation of it was better from Errol Spence's side. The last thing I will say is possibly being new to PBC and Showtime production, Team Crawford seemed a bit more nervous to me. You guys can say whatever you want. And I'm not saying nervous is not scared, because there's a lot of fighters who, Mike Tyson told you on his ring walks, he was nervous. But when he fought, you couldn't tell. So I'm not saying it's an indication. I'm just giving you a pure, clean observation. There was like a little bit of shakiness in the voice of Terence Crawford, a little bit of stuttering, him and Bomac on the mic. Again, maybe it's them being foreigners and not being integrated in the PBC system. So maybe they feel like outsiders. Maybe it was the bright lights and the different production than they're used to. I don't know. But I did peep that early in the press conference. If you listen to some of the earlier lines of questioning, there was a little bit of like almost hesitance and like stutteriness and nerves, like jitters. That's what I noticed from Team Crawford. I didn't really get that feeling from Errol Spence, but both took jabs at each other. Errol Spence said he's gonna have a crawfish boil and he's gonna feed everybody. Terence Crawford said, what happens when you take the big fish out of water? When you take a fish out of water, you suffocate him. He said, I'm gonna gut him, you know? And these were the insults that were hurled back and forth. So I'm looking forward to a great fight. Let me know what you guys think of the press conference. That's my first thoughts. Subscribe to the channel if you like it. I'll be here to break down this fight in much, much more detail. Best in the business, and I'm out. Introducing Super Thanks. Right here on the official Boxingego YouTube. Super Thanks allows you, the viewers, to show a little bit of extra gratitude, which enables me as a full-time content creator to push out the content you need in the world of boxing. Underneath all the videos, you will see a heart with the $sign in it. You can enter any amount that you find suitable as a super thanks. A brand new, interactive, and colorful way to get your comments highlighted and noticed by not only myself, but other people on the YouTube platform. Super thanks, a unique and cool way to show and applaud us full-time content creators. Hopefully you guys enjoy the content. Super thanks. The future is now. The Hibernation 5s by Kenichi Bear. Hybrid gaming and lifestyle headphones. Out of the box, you can connect to any console or PC. Bluetooth ready with a low latency USB adapter, color RGB, and extreme bass mode. The Hibernation 5s adjust to you. Whether you need a gaming, travel, gym, or lifestyle headphones, the Hibernations got you covered. The new Hibernation 5s, link in the description. Customize the way you hear the world. Welcome to the nation. Are you tired of your YouTube videos not getting any views? Well, consider TubeBuddy. I've used TubeBuddy for years to scale up my YouTube channel. Now we're sitting over 200,000 subscribers. TubeBuddy is a browser extension that offers a ton of built-in productivity and time-saving services to take your channel to the next level. Use my link in the description to get started with TubeBuddy and level up your channel faster. We working.